Hey, what's up guys, it's Goosebumps guy here with a brand new video. As you can see by the title above, it's going to be the top 10 worst Goosebumps books. This is just my opinion. This isn't based off any facts, so don't get offended if you see some of your favorite books on here, because it's just my opinion. This list will only include books from the original series, so you won't see Series 2000, Most Wanted, or Horrorland, or any other series on this list. I may make a video on that in the future. With that being said, there's going to be a lot of spoilers in this video, so be sure to click away if you don't want to hear any spoilers. Alright guys, let's get to business. The number 10 spot goes to The Barking Ghost. Scared of his own shadow, that's what everybody says about Cooper Holmes, but when the Holmes move into a new house deep in the woods, scary things really do start to happen. Problem is, no one believes a scaredy cat like Cooper. But then no one else heard the bone-chilling barking late at night, or ran into two evil-looking dogs that disappeared into thin air. I just reread The Barking Ghost, and overall, it's a pretty good book, but it really falls apart when it comes to the twist ending in the last chapter. If you want to hear in detail what that last chapter and the twist ending is about, I'll leave an annotation above so you can click that and go to my previous video on my top 10 weirdest twist endings where I fully explain the Barking Ghost ending. The cover art for this book is great, a dog in the shadows ready to bite with red eyes. I'd be terrified if I seen this as a kid. The setting was creepy, a new house deep in the woods and mysterious things happen. I really like the setting of this book. Also, at some parts of the book, you're led to believe Cooper is connected to these dogs, but L Stine never expands on that. Overall, The Barking Ghost was not a bad book, it just all fell apart with the twist ending. The twist ending didn't seem mysterious or scary, it seemed like it was a joke, and it turned a good book into a bad book. Ghost Beach is here to take the number 9 spot. Jerry can't wait to explore the old spooky cave he found down by the beach. Then the other kids tell him a story about a ghost who lives deep inside the cave, a ghost who is 300 years old, a ghost who comes out when the moon is full, a ghost who is haunting the beach. Just another stupid story, right? I think the cover for this book is great. You see the ghost coming out of the grave at the cemetery, and if you look closely in the background you could also see the beach. The reason why I disliked this book so much was because it's so predictable. You could tell who the real ghosts are from a few chapters into the book. It wasn't that hard for me to tell in my opinion. And also these ghosts are extremely weak for Goosebumps ghosts and just regular ghosts in general. They actually made it onto my top 10 weakest Goosebumps monsters list. If you want to see that video and see why they're so weak. So this book is very predictable and has weak monsters. That's why it's number 9 on my list. Go Eat Worms makes it number 8 on my list. Obsessed with worms? That's putting it mildly. Todd is so fascinated with worms, he keeps a worm farm in his basement. Todd loves torturing his sister and her best friends, dropping it into their hair, down their backs, until one day, after cutting a worm in half, Todd notices something strange. The rest of the worms seem to be staring at him. Suddenly worms start showing up in the worst places for Todd. In his bed, in his homework, even in his spaghetti. What's a worm lover do when his own worms are starting to gross him out? I really like this cover art. It shows the purple worms coming out of the textbook. It really shows how strong they are and the teamwork they use. This book takes place at home and at the school fair. I really wish they didn't spend so much time at the school fair. They spent about half the book at the school fair and it really didn't progress to anything interesting or anything important to the story. Worms can only be so scary. I really wish they touched on the Tremors bit because that would have made for a better book in my opinion. And also, Todd isn't really a likable character. He bullies his sister, he cuts up worms, he doesn't seem like a nice kid. And then you get the reveal at the end and there's giant bugs. And I really wish they spent more time on the giant bugs instead of saving it till the very end of the book. If this book was more giant worms and less school fair, it would be an amazing book. Number 7 is The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. Gabe just got lost in a pyramid. One minute, his cousin Sari was right ahead of him in the pyramid tunnel. The next minute, she'd disappear. But Gabe isn't alone. Someone else is in the pyramid too. Someone or something. Gabe doesn't believe in the curse of the mummy's tomb, but that doesn't mean the curse isn't real, does it? The cover art is great. Look at that mummy standing by the tomb, but it has nothing to do with the story. The book takes place in Egypt, a nice change from what R.L. Stine usually does. I really wanted to enjoy this book because I love the setting. R.L. Stine usually doesn't write about this type of stuff. Cutting to the chase, the mummies only show up for a few chapters and it's extremely disappointing. In my opinion, this is R.L. Stine's worst book on mummies. He has other books that are based on mummies that I actually really enjoy, and this one's my least favorite out of all of them. You Can't Scare Me is number 6. Courtney is the total show-off. She thinks she's so brave and she's making Eddie and his friends look like wimps. But now Eddie's decided he's had enough. He's going to scare Courtney once and for all, and he's come up with the perfect plan. He's going to lure Courtney down to Muddy Creek. Because Eddie knows Courtney believes in the silly rumors about the monsters, mud monsters that live in the creek. Too bad Eddie doesn't believe in the rumor because it just might be true. I really like this cover. It shows the mud monsters coming out of the ground, but it also shows them coming out of the ground together and at different stages. Although the story doesn't really have mud monsters, it's still a great cover. Much like the last book on this list, The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, nothing really happens in You Can't Scare Me. The majority of the book is Eddie trying to play pranks on Courtney, and I found it really boring. I really wish they focused a little less on that and a little more on the actual mud monsters. Number 5 goes to Deep Trouble. Still, the reefs are so beautiful, so peaceful. Billy can't resist. He's not alone in the water. Something's lurking deep below the surface. Something dark and scaly. Something's half human and half fish. Billy and his sister Sheena are visiting their uncle Dr. Deep on a tiny Caribbean island. It's a perfect place to go underwater exploring, and Billy is ready for an adventure. There's only one rule to remember: stay away from the coral reefs. I really like this cover. It shows a giant shark going after its next prey. Although it's not a monster and this book has nothing to do with sharks, I still like the cover. I really like the change of setting. It's on an island in the Caribbean, and it's very different from what R.L. Stine usually does. The main reason I dislike this book and I made it to number 5 is because it has nothing to do with sharks and it has to do with mermaids. And honestly, it's not a scary book at all. It would be a good adventure book, but in my opinion, it does not make a good Goosebumps book. My HAIRIEST Adventures takes number 4. Larry Boy just found the coolest thing in the trash. It's an old bottle of Instatan. Rub on a dark suntan on minutes. That's what the label says. So Larry and his friends do so, but nothing much happens until Larry notices the dark, spiky hair growing on his hands and face. Really gross, shiny hair. Hair that keeps growing back even after he shaves it off. I don't really like this cover. It just shows the hairy kid. It makes you believe that it's a werewolf story, but it doesn't look scary. The story takes place in Larry's neighborhood. I don't find Harry to be scary, and that's why I didn't like this book. It didn't really remind me of a horror story. It was just about Larry growing hair all over his body and him trying to hide it from his parents and hide it from everybody else and then trying to shave it off. It just wasn't that scary to me, and as a kid I was always a pretty hairy kid. I had a mustache and beard in grade 6. Not a big one, but I had facial hair in grade 6. So this book wasn't that scary, but the twist ending I liked, so that's why I made it to number 4 and not any lower on my list. Jordan Blake and his sister Nicole are sick of the hot weather in Pasadena. Just once they'd like to have a real winter with real snow, and then it happens. The Blakes are off to Alaska. Seems that Mr. Blake has been asked to photograph a mysterious creature there. Poor Jordan and Nicole, they just want to see snow, but now they're being chased by a monstrous creature, a big furry-faced creature known as the Abominable Snowman. I like how this cover shows the snowman going on a rampage, but it doesn't exactly happen in the book. This book takes place in Pasadena, but for the majority of the book, it takes place in Alaska. I like the change of scenery. This book is actually pretty scary. Being alone is very scary, and then on top of that, being alone in Alaska is even worse. This book spends most of its time in Alaska, and for the last 20 to 30 pages, it goes to Pasadena. And I really expected the Abominable Snowman to go crazy in Pasadena, as it shows in the cover, but it never happened. It was more the Abominable Snowman was misunderstood, so I went with that ending. Number 2 goes to How. And personally, I want to see some action and destruction like the cover showed us. Wilson loves to make Jack feel like a total loser, and Jack's had it. That's how he ended up down at the beach, in a creepy, old, abandoned house, in the dark, trying to hide from Wilson. But everything's about to change, because Jack dug up the coolest book. It's called Flying Lessons. It tells how humans can learn to fly. Poor Jack, he wanted to get back at Wilson, but now Jack's learned to fly, things down on Earth are getting really scary. The cover is good, it shows the kid flying, but then it shows the evil birds that don't make it into the story. It's another misleading cover art. I was really torn on this book because I enjoyed this book, but then I looked back on it. What do you expect from a Goosebumps book? You expect something scary, and this book was the least thing from scary. It was enjoyable, I could recommend it, but to the people I'm recommending it to, don't expect a Goosebumps book, don't expect a scary book. Expect a fantasy book with a lot of magic. Otherwise, it's a great book, but it's not something that's gonna give you goosebumps. Number 1. Comment below on which book you think made it number 1 on my list. Night of the Living Dummy makes it to the number 1 spot on my list. It's just a prank, bro. Number 1 spot actually goes to Chicken Chicken. Everyone in Goshen Falls knows about Weird Vanessa. She dresses in all black, wears black lipstick, and puts spells on people. At least that's what they say. Kristen and her brother know you can't believe everything you hear. But that was before they made Vanessa mad, before she whispered that strange warning, chicken, chicken. Because now something really weird has happened. Crystal's lips have turned as hard as a bird's beak, and Cole has started growing ugly white feathers all over his body. The cover for this book is hilarious. Girl head, chicken body. There are 2 main reasons why I really dislike this book. The first reason is the parents are horrible. Unlike other Goosebumps books, these kids go right to their parents and tell them exactly what's going on when it's happening. But the parents don't give them any time of day because they're busy at a barbecue. The second reason is the reason why they got cursed. They got cursed for poor manners. The witch cursed them because they accidentally knocked over her grocery bags and they didn't say sorry, so she turned them into chickens. What an evil witch. If you made it to this far in this video, I'd like to thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button down below. If you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. And if you're subscribed already, hit that little bell beside the subscribe button so you never miss my videos when they come out. Alright, see you guys later. Have a good day. Chicken, chicken.